Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, and today I am bringing it back for the cronies. Canoptek Court, the Canoptek Harvest, is making its return, and it's time for me to start making a push with this thing and getting this figured out, because I've seen us so much talk about how Canoptek Court is not viable, it's not competitive, it's dropped in this and that and the other, and I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I love my Canoptek Court. I love this detachment. You know me, I love me some spiders. So I got my Necron pants on, and it's time. It's time for the Canoptek Court and much, much more Necrons, as we are going to be doing our special Thanksgiving episode, which we'll talk about here in a second. And I will be preparing for December with the Necrons. That's right. Santacrons are coming to town. And that's what we're going to be doing, Necrons, for the majority of December. There is a possibility we might switch over to a couple other armies if things look good, but we could do that in the new year. New year, new you for some of these armies. We can wait till the points hit, because we just learned that detachments are coming for every single army in December. That means every one of them, Codex, Index, is going to get a new detachment for a fresh feel. And we're going to be talking about those during our next game. So, this is time for our special Thanksgiving battle report, our turkey bowl, our Thanksgiving. And Lane and I discussed it back and forth on what we could do for this episode. And we wanted to do something for all of our viewers out there as a thank you. And a thank you in the sense that we're giving you probably going to be what's up to around a 3-hour video. That's right, we're going to be putting up a full game. Now, we are still building the technology that is required to do all of this stuff, so this is going to be one of our first tests, just to see how things look, what we're working with, and what we need to do to start doing this once in a while, a live stream maybe, and be able to have a chat and talk and all of those things. But we have to start somewhere. So we decided we were going to record this. So this game, the next one, between the Necrons and the Blood Angels, the entire table, we will be doing a top-down view of the whole table, moving dice trays if needed, trying to show those as best as we can. It'll be difficult, and we know it will be, but moving the dice trays around, etc. And hearing us talk, hearing us play a game, hearing our interactions on the table and what we talk about. And there's going to be other things we're going to talk about at the same time too, especially the news. Hopefully World Championships of Warhammer will be done, and we'll have some news for that game. We'll be able to put stuff up there and talk about it and converse about it, all sorts of stuff for that, hopefully. But we will be talking about those detachments, because I know, like, for myself, there's some I'm excited for. What are some predictions, based on what Games Workshop has said as far as what we're looking at? What does this mean? What are we going to see here from it? So definitely it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It is our Thanksgiving episode, as giving thanks to everyone out there who has supported us. We want to make this video so you guys can see a little more of what we do. Lane's going to be bringing the Blood Angels. I'm going to be bringing the Necrons. Let's take a look at the list and see what is going to be hitting for the Canoptek Court today. All right, here it is, the Canoptek Court, which I lovingly call the Canoptek Harvest. It's a throwback to an old 7th edition formation that had wraiths and a single spider that you use to make the wraiths basically indestructible. Here we are in 10th edition, and I'm trying to make wraiths indestructible again with this detachment. So it even works more to call this the Canoptek Harvest. I got a little trick in here. Haven't gone totally overkill and put every single piece that you could possibly do in here. Instead, I think I put the right pieces in here to achieve that goal. So, for those who don't know, the Canoptek Court is a Necrons detachment that gives you the following. At the beginning of each phase, you check to see if you control at least half of the objective markers in No Man's Land, or the objective marker in your opponent's home field territory. If you meet either one of these, that territory is considered in a Canoptek control node. Your home table deployment zone is always in Canoptek control. What that gives your army is any unit that is Canoptek or Cryptek, wholly within your Canoptek control range, gets full rerolls to hit. Otherwise, they get reroll 1s, which is still a nice bonus to units that may not be in Canoptek control things that are out there aggressive and trying to take an objective away from an opponent that we may not have totally been able to get that control in something like center field. Now, for this list, we have only one enhancement in here, which we'll talk about that on a Technomancer. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward on what everything is. Recently, a lot of people have been down on the Canoptek Court, saying that it is not as good, so I want to try and bring it back. So here's what I'm going to try and use. First and foremost, let's talk about the Canoptek Doomstalkers. These big, bad War of the Machines looking dudes are nasty, nasty firepower. They have strength 14 on their guns, so they pass that toughness 12 gap to be able to wound on 3s, as well as flat 3 damage. A nice solid place. You don't have to worry about rolling 1s on d6 damage, so that's always nice. These guys have d6 plus 1 shots, blast, and their ability is that when they overwatch at a 5-up. Now, when we go back to the Canoptek control zones, the Doomstalkers, with the Overwatch ability as well as a regular shooting, can do full rerolls to hit and typically hit on 4s. This is heavy, heavy firepower. I love these guys. Things dropping in the backfield, they shred. Back in the day of, the Plasma Inceptors, which I'm sure we still see some of those here and there, but when those were extremely popular, those guys would drop in with 3 inches and a Doomstalker would just pick them up so fast. If they were 6-mans, I was getting an extra shot. I'm rerolling the hits, I'm hitting them, I'm AP2, they're definitely not getting cover, and I'm flat 3 damage, so they just went away fast. These guys are awesome. I love them, and considering a lot of damage-dealing, shooting, long-range units have gone up in points, these guys are still relatively cheap in comparison to some other dedicated shooting vehicle units. This thing also has a toughness 8, 12 wounds with a 4-up invulnerable save. Pretty durable with that 4-up. Next up, we move to the bread and butter of this army, the Canoptek Wraiths. So we have 2 6-man squads of Wraiths with Vicious Claws. The AP1, Strength 6, I do believe, and the 2 damage is something I found very necessary for being able to pick up a little bit of tougher units that are trying to take objectives from me in that OC2 column that also have 2 wounds. But these guys are more for their stat line. They hit on 4s with their attacks. They also hit on, with the attacks, it's a Strength 6 AP1. They also have a pistol. The pistol is 3 shots apiece, and what is really nice about it is the fact that it has devastating wounds. The pistol is a Strength 5, no AP on it, so you're just looking for the dev wounds on it. And a pistol, with these guys being a combat unit, this is a gun you can shoot in combat. Now, it's not going to end the game and end the world, but any extra damage you can do with these things is just absolutely nice. It hits on 4s, much like everything else, so this unit really does need the Canoptek control as well. What you're buying these guys for is their stat line mostly. They are toughness 6, 4 wounds, with a 4-up invuln and a 3-up save. These guys are also able to be joined by one and only one leader unit, and that is the Technomancer, which will give them a 5-up Feel No Pain. More on those guys later, but just understand these guys have a 5-up Feel No Pain on top of those 4 wounds and Reanimation Protocol with a new added twist to it that we'll be talking about in a little bit. Moving on, we have 3 2-man squads of the Canoptek Tomb Spiders. Everyone knows, anyone who knows me knows I love these guys. I love these guys so much. I always try and find a way to run them. This is very nice. This is a Canoptek unit, so they gain my Canoptek buff of the full rerolls to hit. They hit on 3s with their gun, which is 4 shots per unit. 2 shots per spider because you get 2 particle beamers. It's not one, it's not twin linked. You actually have 2 particle beamers that are both blast weapons as well. So every time you hit that blast mark of 5 models, you're getting +4 shots. Hitting on 3s with a Strength 6 AP0 1 damage weapon that has devastating wounds. This is a gun that it's like, you know, it is AP0, but it's a lot of shots, Strength 6, so most of the time wounding on 3s, and even the T3 units were wounding on 2s, so we are really going to make people make saves, and then you have the devastating wounds to also help chip off and chip in more damage. Then we run over to the combat aspect of this all. In combat, these guys are looking at strength 8, 5 attacks, AP 2, flat 2 damage. They hit with thunder hammers. On top of being Canoptek control, they can re-roll this hit because it's not just re-rolling hits in the shooting phase, it's re-rolling hits, 2 hit rolls, all of them. Another reason why it works during the Overwatch. So this, the spiders just wreck. Defensively, one thing is hilarious. These guys have reanimation protocols. So in those circumstances, you shoot multi-damage weapons and you happen to do just enough damage to only take down one spider. Then during my turn, I can bring one back. They also have an aura effect that gives us a 5-up feel no pain versus mortal wounds. This with the recent change of devastating wounds being mortal wounds again, just mortal wounds that don't carry over means this is more valuable. Used to be 4-up feel no pain versus psychic attacks. I'll take the 5-up feel no pain and include devastating wounds in there. That's pretty cool. As well, they give a 6-up feel no pain just to vehicle units. So things like the Doomstalkers as well as themselves will at least always have a 6-up feel no pain. No invuln, but they got a 3-up save. And I mean, listen, there's 75 points a piece, and that's the entire package we got with these guys, as well as the ability to resurrect scarabs. So let's jump over into these guys. I have 2 6-man squads of scarabs. Now, scarabs are OC0. That used to be their job. Not being OC0, but doing secondaries and scoring points for the army, being a relatively cheap unit doing so. Now, they really can't do that as much because they are OC0. However, if they're within 6 inches of a Cryptek model, they get OC1. And if they're in engagement range, the enemy unit that they're within engagement range gets -1 OC, so to a minimal of 1. And with another unit elsewise, we can also get these guys another OC bonus, which is cool. But mostly there's the fact that these guys can be near my wraiths and gain that OC boost and reduce it, which helps greatly when we're trying to control objectives at the beginning of the fight phase after we have charged, so that we can have our Canoptek control bonus. Once per fight, at the beginning of the fight phase, you can blow up one of these guys and do potentially D3 or 3 mortal wounds. On a 1, you do nothing. And they have 6 attacks apiece with lethal hits. Weapon skill 5, strength 2, they're not really going to hit. You're just looking for those lethals. And with a unit that can reroll all to hit rolls and just fish for 6s at 6 attacks up per model, per base, it's a lot of random damage that these guys can put out there. As well as I mentioned, the spiders can put them back. And you can look at the rules, you can read it, but let me just break it down as simple as possible. Each spider can put a base back a turn. So if you have 1 scarab base left between 4 spiders, you can reanimation protocol to get a D3 wound model back to get 1 base. And then you can put 4 models back in from those 4 spiders that were in range of it. You can build the squad back to full strength. What I typically like is you charge in, you blow one up, and then at the beginning of the next fight phase, you blow another one up. Now they're out of combat. Your turn, you have a spider nearby, you reload the 2 scarabs it just blew up, and send them into the next target. A lot of tech from scarabs. Hopefully I can showcase that during our game. Now, to finish up with the actual units, the only non-Canoptek, non-Cryptek, because Cryptek units also get the buff, which would typically be a unit of warriors or immortals that had a Cryptek with them. We got none of those in here today. Is the Ophidian Destroyers. Ophidian Destroyers have one job. They can get up off the table and teleport somewhere else. Up, B, down units. That's their job. Their job is to get picked up, go somewhere else, score secondaries, and do that stuff. Their stat line isn't terrible. So going into stuff that's like Assault Intercessors or 5-man units that are backed around objective, they could kick butt and clear. They have a lot of attacks. They have the ability to go into devastating wounds. You do have the reanimation protocol so they can heal themselves, and they're 3 wounds apiece. So it can be a struggle. Now, things like Assault Intercessors could charge and push through and probably take them out. But if they get that charge, if they're hanging out there and assault intercessors start making a move, and they can get the charge, they can do enough damage to them that they can survive the slapback. So that's where they're kind of in a good position there. But mostly it's just going to be pick them up, score the points. Pick them up, score the points for the duration of the game. All right, let's jump over into the characters now. So first and foremost, we have the two Technomancers, as I mentioned, that will be joining the Wraiths. These guys at the end of the movement phase can heal D3 to a Necron unit, so their own unit or something else nearby, you know, Canoptek Doomstalker or anyone. If they're close enough, they can do that. These guys also give the Feel No Pain to the unit that they're leading, so the Wraiths will have a 5-up Feel No Pain. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Next, we have Lane's favorite model, the Psychomancer. I love the Psychomancer. This guy may or may not go into Strategic Reserve. It just depends on how I feel with the mission and such. If he goes into Strategic Reserve or not, he comes on to do some secondaries. That's his job. While doing secondaries, he has one other ability that has an 18-inch range and does not require line of sight. That is to target a unit and give it a Battle Shock test at -1. Its second ability is that you have to take Battle Shock tests if you lose a model during the Battle Shock phase, even if you're down one model, and you have to do it at -1. Now, the other ability we talked about, the one that's a ranged ability, this is done at the beginning of any phase. This is something you can do at the beginning of the shooting phase, target a unit, and when they fail it, then you can shoot at them because now they can't armor or contempt or any other defensive stratagems. This can break the game where your opponent is in a position they feel safe, riding behind a defensive stratagem, and you target a unit and suddenly they don't have a defense. Very, very powerful. And on top of it, he's very cheap. So even if his job is just moving around completing actions, that's good too. He is a Cryptek, so if any Scarabs get near him, he can give them an additional OC1. The last up for the characters is the Catacomb Command Barge. And after I just said, I don't see much place for a Catacomb Command Barge in Canoptek Court, I was greatly proven wrong. And someone said, hey, do you know what's something cute? I thought it was adorable. So adorable that I think it is very, very plausible. So, the Catacomb Command Barge, is not a Canoptek unit, so it's not going to get any of the reroll buffs. No enhancements, nothing else there. It is pretty durable. You know, it has that, if you shoot me with a stronger weapon, I can reduce your -1 to wound, because I'm tougher like that. 4-up invuln, so he's pretty good. His big kicks. Number 1, any unit within 6 inches of him gets +1 OC. Beautiful for things like the Wraiths. Beautiful for things like the Scarabs. Really can help us push over the top to control an objective in that fight phase when we're trying to make sure we have the rerolls on our Wraiths. But more importantly than that, he has his once per game Resurrection Orb that he targets a unit, an infantry or mounted unit. And when he targets that unit, they immediately activate a reanimation protocol for D6. This functions at the end of any phase. So, with this guy, he, like I said with infantry units, he can target the Wraiths, because the Wraiths have a Technomancer with them. Technomancer is infantry. And as much as that makes it that the squad takes damage from things that are anti-infantry, this also makes it an infantry unit and a legal target for the Resurrection Orb. So, this also is at the same time as the Technomancer's heal ability, so there's fun ways we can stack that. We'll talk about that in a second. But there you go. There is the Canoptek Court I'll be bringing here today. There you have it. That's the Canoptek Court I'll be bringing. So let's talk about this Catacomb Command Barge. Let's talk about the CCB. So, this was brought up to me by someone in the comment section. I'm sorry I don't have the name right now, but I appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot. I love it because I'm trying it out. In my opinion, the Catacomb Command Barge is only 120 points and is a unit that can stay with the Wraiths as a unit of Wraiths as well on an offensive flank and help keep that unit alive, durable, and controlling that objective. By it controlling that objective, it allows me to focus other units towards the center, things like my spiders and the second squad of Wraiths. Now I don't have to be as aggressive, though, onto those other objectives, and I can keep that squad of wraiths in a safer point, while a squad that is like maybe my infiltrating squad is sitting onto a closer objective, and the Catacomb can get over there, and we can really just control those two and fight over the other objective, which the Catacomb Command Barge can later on move in there, give us the OC boost, and help keep the Canoptek control into the later turns of the game. In the early segment of it, he stacks very well with the Technomancer. So at the beginning of the phase, we're going to trigger reanimation for D3. And the wraiths have 4 wounds. So typically, it's just heal some wraiths. If I have 3 wraiths in the squad, and the wraiths are at full health, if I roll a 2, so I get a wraith back with 2 wounds. I'm rolling a 2 on a D3. So I got a wraith back with 2 wounds. When I go for the Technomancer, he can then heal D3. So if he heals 2 and brings that wraith up to full health, at the end of the movement phase, we can then as well, in a better movement position, trigger the Canoptek, or the Catacomb Command Barge, to then reanimate D6. And if it hits it would have to hit a 5. But we still can bring back an entire wraith with that model, and bring back entire wraith models with it. And heaven forbid we do hit the 5 or 6, and we bring back we bring them both back. And on a 5 or 6, we bring the 2. So with that Technomancer, it puts us in a position where we can kind of tweak that in a way to heal and have a very, very healthy wraith squad while moving forward. Now, in another scenario, let's say we have the 3 guys left. The 3 wraiths left, but one of them is damaged. One of them has already 2 damage on. So we do the reanimation, and that heals him back up to full. So now we're at full health. Then we throw the D6 for our reanimation for the Catacomb Command Barge. And if we roll that 5, then we have an injured wraith. If we don't do too well, and we roll like a 2, and we just get an injured wraith, a single injured wraith back instead of the 2, 1 full and 1 injured, now the Technomancer can heal it and make up for that bad Resurrection Orb. So the Resurrection Orb really could potentially make the wraiths at that little extra durability that we don't normally get. I don't feel like I will go into the Canoptek Reanimator for this. I do like Reanimators, but I like them out of Hypercrypt. More on that later. I did think about Crypt Thralls because they're 3 wound models, so we can mess with that and mess with some of the numbers. So that might be something worth investing into, because with 3 wound models, we might be able to go, okay, we're going to bring back, we got a 4, so we'll bring back a full Crypt Thrall and a single Wraith, and then heal the Wraith. So there's things we can mess with that I kind of like in concept. So we'll see about that in the future. They are 60 points for 2. And I'm very, very compact already with everything I have in there. So that's really it. This is going to be all full live, so you hear all the different concepts and ideas and things we're going to be going on about. Hopefully talk about World Championships of Warhammer, and more of it, more conversational, more importantly, talking about our tactics on the table of Warhammer 40K, and just hearing what we sound like, hearing what two dudes playing with model, whichever thing you want to say, because there's a bunch of different terms that we get out there. It's action figures, little toy soldiers, our dolls. I've heard that one. Call it what you will. Warhammer is an awesome game. We love playing it, and we thank you for Lane and I thank you for being around and seeing us grow as we start to move into the direction of more stuff, more content, and different styles too. All right, I've made this video long enough, as you know I'm notorious for. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.